helps us with the meeting schedules and delivery reports. As I said, you'll always have direct access to myself and Betsy and the other partners. We are here to answer your questions and to help out. And lastly, and I think maybe the most important thing, or very important, is we have very clean peer reviews. We go through that every 3 years. The Auditor of Public Accounts comes in and looks at our work papers, thoroughly scrubs us. They'll pick one locality. Goochland has been through that audit process where the APA comes in. They look at what we do, and they go through everything that we do to make sure we're doing our jobs to audit you. We've always come out with clean opinions and those types of things, so we're very proud of that. Quickly, the team, myself, the lead partner in engagement, Betsy is another partner, and she spends a lot of time here on site during the audit, reviewing work papers, answering questions. Andrea Nichols is our manager. Actually, I need to change that because she's not a manager anymore. She's a director for us, but she runs the county, the school audit, the single audits. Michael Corrali is actually out of our Fredericksburg office. He does run the Community Services Board audit. And then Nina McAvoy is a partner with us, and if there's any significant changes to IT, upgrades, things of that nature, we think the system starts to get too robust for just us little auditors to look at, we'll bring in Nina to do some testing and looking over the IT systems and the information systems. And that is what she does. That is her specialty. So just quickly looking at the audit committee oversight, you know, we try to communicate as best we can throughout the entire audit. Starting with this meeting, I know we're saying it's August and we've already been here and done some planning, but really this meeting is to open this communication between our firm and this group. So if there are things that you want us to look at, now is the opportunity to do that and to start this two-way communication. Again, we would meet with this committee if we needed to. If there's things we thought were important to go over, we would reach out to you and say, hey, we need to have a meeting. It might even need to be a closed session, and here's why, and we would do that. So, or if there's reasons that you might want to have a closed session with us, we'll make sure that we're here and we can do that.
Thank you.
Moving to page 1 to the scope of services, just so we do have an understanding of lots of services actually that we're going to 2 pages of. Not just the county audit, the school board, the component unit is included in that audit as well. Goochland Community Services, we're going to audit them. Separate financial statement is issued for them. We audit your federal dollars and the programs that you receive your federal funding for. We will select those programs based on risk. There's checklists we use. There's things that help us identify which programs could be high risk. As ARPA money and all that money flowed through here, the federal government said they are high risk. You will audit these, and so we have been able to do that, and we will continue doing that. Flipping to the next page, the county is a low risk auditee for single audit, so that's wonderful. That means we don't have to audit as many programs as we used to, but if we do have any findings or compliance issues there, then we'll be back to not low risk and we'll have to do a little extra work. Some of the other items that you may not be aware of that we also issue reports on, we have to do special work in the sheriff office that we have to issue internal control reports on. There's a landfill certification that goes to DEQ. There's the transmittal forms that go to the Auditor of Public Accounts. There's a data collection form that we have to help fill out and put an opinion on for the single audit work. So outside of just the audit itself, there's 6 or 7 other reports that are all required that we will work our way through. And of course the VRS has us doing, or I should say the APA has us doing work for them for the VRS reports as well. So lots of things that go on during the audit besides just the financial statements. And of course, lastly, if we do see some deficiencies or just recommendations and controls, as we look at controls, we'll put those in a letter to you as well. A very high overview of our audit approach. Again, each one of our clients, we tailor our audit approach to you specifically based on your funding sources, your expenditures, where we see high risk. So we'll get an understanding with the counties and the school board. We will do our own risk assessment in that planning phase. Then we'll perform lots of additional testing, internal control, documentations, walkthroughs, things of that nature. Then we stop and evaluate those products, what we looked at, and see if we need to go back and do any additional work. Finally is delivery of all of our reports. And then at the end of our audits, we actually just kind of do a reassessment of ourselves. Are there areas that we can do better? Are there communications that we dropped the ball on that we need to make sure we get in the list for next year, things of that nature. So all of that's just months worth of work in 30 seconds, but there's a lot that goes on there. Just quickly talking about some of the significant areas that when we do our risk approach and our risk assessment, areas that we will look at internal control. We will test controls. We don't put an opinion on your controls, but we will look at them, assess them, and test those controls to see if they're working. But the treasury function, procurement, debt, HR, grants management, your revenue recognition, capital asset management, compliance is a big one. And of course, the year end, just preparing all the financial statements and things, we have to look at making sure that there's controls in place that actually prepare those financials correctly, have all the correct disclosures and things of that nature. So all of that, those are the largest areas that we will look at while performing our audit. Lastly, again, we're not hired necessarily to detect fraud, but we do have a requirement to at least assess the areas that we think there could be fraud and look at those if necessary. We do inquiries with Carla and her group. We'll talk with Debbie. We'll talk with others within the organization to get their feel. A lot of times we try to have those conversations one-on-one where hopefully they feel comfortable sharing things with us if they need to. And of course with this group, one of the areas that I always like to open it up to, and it's difficult with management and everybody sitting in the room in an open session to share areas that you think there could be concerns. So what I do is I say my phone number and email are always at your fingertips. If there are areas of concern that you have, please reach out to us, myself, our team. We'll get together and we'll talk about those things. And we'll weave that into our audit plan and report back to you on areas that you may or may not have some concern for. So with that, I think that's all I have. It is.
And so you've been here for about a month?
We won't be on site for a month. We do a lot of work back in our office, a lot of the planning, things of that documentation. We'll be on site for a week to maybe a little bit more. We came and did some preliminary work probably back in May. We were here for a week or so doing a lot of preliminary work. And then we'll give them a list of all the items we want to look at when we come back, and we'll come back here for a week. There'll be wrap up.
How many people will you bring?
4 to 5. Give or take. We'll have a couple at the school board, and we'll have some over here at the county. I think we'll do this community services maybe at the same time or a different week. I can't remember right off the top of my head. But come in, pretty good group, and ask lots of questions.
One of them lives in Goochland now, which is great.
Yeah, yeah. So it's even more local than I said.
Yeah.
So
We'll set them up in the training room upstairs,
Yeah.
so they've got just that room themselves.
So you're not hired to detect fraud, or you don't do a fraud investigation, but you do look at internal controls.
Yes, sir.
And so forth, and make sure that the internal controls that are in place are adequate, acceptable.
Yes, sir. So we kind of look at it from two viewpoints. One, we just document the controls that you have, and we'll step back and say, okay, are they adequate? Or should we beef them up, or is there maybe a process we should put in place for an extra review or documentation, something like that? And then after we've said, okay, they're adequate, then we'll go test them and see if they're actually working. Because there's two deficiencies you can have. One, are the controls set up correctly? Yes, that's wonderful. Now what are we doing? That's the next question. You know, but yeah, are they being, so, and sometimes that's not the case. Like, oh, we got these great controls, but we're not following them. So then we'll do some testing to see if some random sampling and things of that nature to make sure we think they're
Well, the
being
one
followed.
thing that I picked up on, and that is that we are a less intensive audit because the implication of
The low risk from the federal,
risk?
low risk for the federal
because
awards.
our staff is doing a good job.
Yes. And it took us a while to get there.
And that
We've been here for
probably
several
ends up
years.
saving us money in the audit, or you
It
spend
does.
less time.
It
and
does, because
so forth.
we would have to audit twice as many federal programs if you were not low risk, and so we're able to audit half as many. It's the
So
requirement.
kudos to you all and your staffs and so forth.
And that's the county, that's schools, that's social services, anybody who receives federal dollars. We have to look at everybody as a whole. Yes.
So Tom, one of the things that has really helped us, and I know it helps the auditors to audit us, is everything is now computerized. So all the documents are attached. And so we used to, when the auditors came, they'd say, pull all these records, we'd have to send them boxes and stuff. Now they have access to our computer system, and they can see the documentation that we have for all of our transactions, which is very, very neat.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't require as much work from us. And the other thing is that they can see the trail of who approves what. So when we set up the system, that was one of the things that we really worked hard at, was to make sure that we had all the controls in place. Like, the person entering the transaction wasn't the person that was approving it, and we had stops in the system to prevent, you from going all the way through the process by yourself. So, they can see that, they can see, the sign-offs as,
Good, good.
so it's, the new finance system has really, to me, made the whole audit process a lot easier, because we just give you the keys to the system.
No, you give us read-only access.
No, yeah, they
All I
give-
want.
Right, they have you access, they can't do anything in the system, but it has been great, it has been great.
It is much better, like in Amelia, where I came from, they're on Bright, and we pulled like stacks and stacks of hard numbers, so I took that for granted the last 2 years.
No, and it's
Is
been really nice.
Is that part of the controls?
Yes.
What she was talking about?
Yes, so-
Being able to track who approves.
Right, so every time we do a purchasing transaction, they have to support it with a quote or multiple quotes, and so you can see that with the, in the system, they can see the multiple quotes. So we don't have to pull all that, we don't have to keep boxes of paperwork now, it's all in the system.
So it kind of ties the controls with the execution of the controls
Right.
together, but it's basically lots of.
And when the pandemic was here, people could be working outside, you could still get your documents attached. So when you were approving it, you could be offsite and you could still see the attachments. So we were very lucky that we had that system ready when the pandemic started. That we could get out payrolls, we could get out everything remotely because the system was robust enough.
And that's where we bring in our IT specialists if we need to, because then what her team does is they'll go in and make sure that everybody listed that can submit an invoice also has it listed as someone who can approve that invoice. And they'll look at all of those different levels and layers within the system to make sure that things are at the right spot, so. Cause it changed.
Do y'all have any
Before I
questions,
grabbed
Mike?
this and you initialed it, Debbie initialed it, and somebody wrote the check number on there, and then we looked at it all, and now it's just all electronic.
No?
No, we have a great working relationship with the PD Bureau, so as soon as we have a question, we just call them or,
Any
Text
concerns on y'all's part at all?
Not at all.
Spill
They're not too hard on you?
them, let me have
They're
it.
not at all.
Well-
Andrea's pretty awesome, the one he was talking about that's here on site the whole time. She answers about 1 million questions for the cat.
right.
And you've decided not to retire, is that right?
I
Oh, you got a good front, okay.
I have a great
No
person that's coming up right behind me. I've been training her for 7 years. She's got it down.
Oh, boy.
She came with her own, capabilities, and then she's been working
Yeah,
the
you know
system,
you're doing this, we know that.
but,
Okay, anything else on Mike? Board?
And again, I'll just say, if there are things that you want to talk to me about, please reach out.
Well, yeah, also
Doors
feel
also.
free to reach out if you want to have a little confab. I'm available, after you wrap up or something, if you want to talk about
Sure.
anything, before you actually do your report.
Can do that. Absolutely.
Do you all advise on retention? And I guess we have looked at this.
How about records retention?
Records retention is all that former, are we analyzing to say, okay, this
We
Yeah.
follow the
period
state
of
library
required, this
regulations.
required period
But
is
the state
gone.
said something, we follow that, so.
This is the secure shred date and stuff like that, okay. So we're,
Yeah, I know we do. I know every department does their own thing.
Yeah.
I know for like AP and payroll, we
we're getting, okay.
follow that.
And how long till we're totally in the cloud or?
I mean, currently we
Everywhere.
are. Yeah.
Okay,
and-
good.
Yeah, cause we went to Munis in 2019, right? I wasn't here.
Yeah.
Originally.
July of 2000.
Finance.
Yeah.
Finance, and then payroll, the finance portion of it.
Good.
But yeah, we still hold on to paper records for 3 and 5 years.
Right.
Depending on the category.
Mhm.
We have some stuff, like bond documents that have to be kept, like the bond and, some of our grants, we have to keep for 20 years. So we are well aware of that.
Budget has indefinite,
We in the school division have a retention officer, so everything that we want to shred has to be passed by a retention officer.
You file it online now too, and they'll catch you if you're putting in dates that aren't within the right, parameters, so, like, I had somebody trying to enter something before July 1st, and it's like, you can't destroy that yet, so we had to wait till July, and, but anyway, yeah, it's nice, cause it'll catch you if you're doing something incorrect.
All right,
Thank you all, appreciate
thank
it.
you, have a safe drive back.
Thank you.
All right, moving right along, the next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for our February meeting. Everyone had a chance to,
Motion to approve?
yeah, well, you made a motion,
Second.
you have a second? Any further discussion on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and of course, the May minutes, were brief, we didn't have a forum, so we just covered a few things. We have a motion.
They're really just here for the record, they don't need a motion.
I don't need a motion, okay. All right, so now, fourth quarter projections.
Alright. So these projections are as of June 30, 2024, but as you know, we do accruals we do a 45-day accrual process. So any revenue or expenses coming in or going out, even though they might be processed in July and August, they might apply to FY '24. So in that 45-day period, there's a lot of posting back to prior year, posting into June. So until after August 15th, it's hard to, I'm hesitant to put these numbers out, but this is my best projection. As far as total general fund revenues go, I'm thinking we are probably gonna come in just short of our projections. I have the number here of 165,000. And the main driver for that, and I know we discussed this in all our 2x2s, but the main driver for that is, our real estate revenue on the commercial side, I think was a little aggressive in our budgeting. When we did this budget prep about 1.5 years ago, the building inspections department was really booming, and we didn't keep it at that booming level, but I think we were a little more optimistic than maybe we should have been. So, but again, who knows, we have a lot of taxes to put back too, so we might come in over budget, but revenues we did pretty well on. Expenses, it looks like each department is gonna return a fairly significant amount. I don't see any department spending their entire budget. And again, this is preliminary through, as of June 30. As far as our transfers out, because as you'll know, our general fund completely supports our capital projects. We did spend $12.4 million and we had only budgeted originally to spend $8.4 million. So we spent an additional $4 million on CIP that we hadn't planned on. But that's okay, we got a lot of good projects done. And after all is said and done, I'm thinking we will have an increase to our general fund balance of $500,000 around. There could come in more. I think if it comes in any different, it'll be a better outcome. So that's where we're at right now.
Good.
If anybody has any questions,
Any
I'll
questions?
answer those.
Good job. We're a little bit conservative on the expenditures, so we're getting a lot of
Yes.
turn back.
Yep, a lot of that's from vacancies in positions.
Well, it could be good and bad.
Yeah.
We need the people.
We do.
Well, but it's a conservative thought process of some counties or municipalities know they're going to carry vacancies, therefore they don't budget a full allocation for that, which, you know, they come in, but the result of that is that they don't end the year, first of all, with net like we do, but second, if they were to fill them all, now they're screwed, because they budgeted 95% versus 100%. So we always budget 100% of 12 full months of every vacancy that's been approved, or of every position approved by the board, knowing that we're gonna, and that gives us that cushion, if you would, if things kind of turn south on us mid-budget year, that allows us to make it through the budget year, okay?
Any other comments? Thank you, Carl. School gonna turn back a lot?
No.
Oh, that's part of what that was. There you go. Any other business to come before this meeting? All right, I'll now open the meeting up for public comment.
I actually have a couple.
All right.
First of all,
Wait, name and address.
I'm sorry, Sandra Warwick, Mannequin Sabbath. Have we renewed the contract with PD Mears?
Yes,
Okay,
for 5 years.
okay. And they're great, so I think that's wonderful. I'm looking at the adjournment, it says to November 12th. Is there a conflict with the school board, because they also meet on the second Tuesday?
And all that is
Not
Well,
even
we-
after-
Just a question.
Right.
We'll meet in the afternoon.
I mean, ours are generally like 3:30, we could set the time at 3 o'clock
Oh,
or 2
just,
o'clock.
you're not gonna do it the same board meeting, the board meeting is gonna be on the 5th.
I think the board meeting is the next day, so
Okay,
that
okay.
board meeting's gonna be on the Wednesday.
Okay,
Should we reschedule this for that Wednesday?
We could, that's, right.
Which would be more efficient for you?
I don't know that for us it necessarily matters, it's more efficient for the board, do y'all wanna?
Same day
What
as
do
the
you-
meeting.
what do
Same
y'all
day as
thought?
meeting. That's a good idea.
So it's on that Wednesday?
Just put them back
Almost
to
same
back.
day?
Yep.
Can we do that?
Or why we can't?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, cause that'd be November
Yeah,
6th,
sure.
Wednesday,
rather than
November
having
6th.
everybody try to get in the boardroom at the same time,
Yeah.
you know, it's just easier. Other than that, thank you for all you do to be so careful to take care of our public dollars. That's so important, and I don't know if any of you in here remember the bad old days when it was magical thinking, but thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here. Any other public comment? Not hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. And if there's nothing else for the good of the cause, I'll adjourn the meeting.
On to November 7th.
Do we need a motion to adjourn anything on
I'm so moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. Good meeting.
That's